that inspires me to ask another question and kind of add it to my list. It's one which I constantly am bugged with, because so in case somebody doesn't know my story, who's watching this short version, I was an Aikido instructor. I went on to do this video, Aikido versus MMA, where I expected to get my ass kicked, but that's what happened. And a lot of people said it's not the martial arts fault, it's my fault because I'm a bad practitioner. So what's your opinion about that? Is that like, is it really the fault of the practitioner or something else?
It can be, but if the martial art to start off with is a giant joke, then what could the practitioner really have done?
Hmm.
I mean, it's like if the martial art is deeply flawed to begin with, then if that practitioner uses that martial art in a true way, keeping true to that martial arts teachings, then he's gonna get beat up. Like, in order to not get beat up, he'd have to do other things besides the martial art if the martial art is actually hindering him.
Hmm.
So yeah, in many cases, if the martial art the student is using fails, or the student fails with it, it's not the student's fault if that martial art is flawed and ineffective to begin with. I'd say the only way the opposite would be true is if, this sounds biased, but if the student's training in, pressure tested, time tested martial art, like, I don't know, MMA, that's not really a martial art, but combat sport martial art, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, BJJ, and goes in there and fails, well, then, we've seen repeatedly, it's been measured and repeated that those styles are effective in self-defense situations. So if the student fails in that case, then I'd say, yeah, there's probably a good chunk of the responsibility that lies with the student.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I think you're right to not take away all the responsibility from the student. At the same time, I think if let's say a student is going to like a Muay Thai gym and training there at least 3 times per week for a couple of years, and if he gets butchered by some other guy, I guess it's all relative. It depends on how much experience that other person has. But let's say that person gets like he's not able to fight whatsoever, then probably either he was a really bad student, like I think that could happen, but I think like personally I would doubt seeing it like that scenario. Maybe it's like the person probably would have to have like a, at least in my opinion, but correct me if you think I'm wrong, that person, if he trained like Muay Thai for 2 years 3 times per week, and he fails miserably, either it's a mental there's people who go into the cage or to the ring and they just fall apart, they just can't perform. And I think that's kind of the mental aspect of it. So maybe that, or maybe they were so terrible, didn't learn anything, but that's hard for me to believe. Or I would think then maybe the instructor failed the student because he wasn't given proper training. I don't know, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think 2 years, 3 years would be way too early to expect a striker to be instantaneously functional in a like, unless they've competed like in actual knockout competitions. Then yeah, I think a lot of it, if the student failed, then it would be adrenaline dumps or just a mental freeze, or it's definitely not the style's fault, and I wouldn't necessarily blame the instructor.